Some of the most common mastering advice on YouTube is actually making your masters sound worse. I hear the same advice repeated over and over, and if you follow through with these tips, there's a high chance you're limiting the potential of your music. You see, this comes down to the simple fact that different genres require different things in mastering. Mastering organic music is different from mastering an aggressive electronic genre, and things don't necessarily carry over. This, together with the everlasting poor advice on the internet, and you seriously risk making your masters sound worse. So in this video, we're gonna look at common mastering advice that sounds smart and professional, but often does more harm than good. Let's get into it. First, we have broadband compression. This is very commonly used when mastering organic music, and it makes sense to use compression to control dynamics and to gently compress the master to be able to squeeze out more loudness, right? Well, yes, but what we have to remember is that organic music and electronic music are two very different pieces of music. For example, electronic music often has way more low end, and it's important that this low end always shows up at a consistent level. This changes the entire picture when it comes to compressing on the master, because it's very hard to make a broadband compressor accommodate that. Let me show you what I mean. I'll play this part for you and you tell me if you can spot the issue. The problem here is that since this is broadband compression, meaning it's reacting to the entire frequency range equally, the screech that comes in every now and then triggers a higher gain reduction than during the rest of the track. This pulls down the level of everything, including the kick and the low end energy in it. So for a brief moment, we actually see a reduction of the power in the kick. It might be brief, it might not be a lot, because I've made sure to dial in the most optimized settings here, but this is obviously a pretty big deal. We want the low end to be consistent at all times. Let me show you the exact same example, but during the melodic part instead. It's subtle, but in the same fashion, the power of the kick is varying here. This here is the difference between one kick and the kick right after it with the screech playing over it. It's very clear that when the screech is active, it pulls everything down because it further triggers the compressor. And this can happen with anything. Any additional element can trigger the compressor to cause an uneven gain reduction. Crashes can do it, uplifters towards the end can do it, and you can go into the sidechain section and try to make the compressor react less to certain frequencies, but you can never really dial in settings that will give you a proper compression while keeping the low end consistent. So what do we do about this? We ditch the broadband compressor and we use multiband instead. With multiband compression, we keep the compression within designated bands so that something that happens at the high end doesn't trigger a gain reduction in the low end. It's a game changer if you want to use compression on the master, and it's something I teach in depth in my upcoming masterclass. Again, we have to recognize that genres are different, and while broadband compression is very often used in organic music, it doesn't have the same application in electronic genres. The low end is simply too precious to F with. So realize this when you take advice from YouTube. Things don't necessarily carry over between genres. Real quick guys, check out my website. There's helpful free tools like this spectrum analyzer. And if you use Silent One, this preset pack is as good as it gets for hardstyle leads. Scan the code or use the link in the description. In almost all masters in organic music, some sort of saturation is used. It can be directly through plugins, or it can be indirectly by simply running the track through analog gear. Either way, saturation is happening, and organic music needs it because they have no other way of introducing additional material to the track once the recording process is over. Think about it, once the track is recorded, how do they get around thin sounding instruments or thin sounding sections of the track? EQing will only bring up the existing parts, and they can't bring in extra instruments after the fact. That's why organic music heavily relies on saturation, because saturation allows them to add more material to the existing instruments. That's the only way they can get around keeping the instruments the same, while adding more body and weight to the sound. This is why almost all masters in organic music use saturation and benefit from saturation. The problem arises when people think the same is true for all other genres as well. This is another case where things things don't carry over between genres, perhaps even less so than with compression. Saturation is undoubtedly great on organic music, but for electronic music, there are several ways that prevents us from benefiting in the same way, and we even risk making things sound significantly worse. Here's how. First of all, saturation softens sounds. If you have sharp transients and crispy details in the high end, which is very often the case with electronic music, you know, kicks and synths and so on, those things will get a blanket of softness pulled over it. Secondly, because electronic music has significantly more low end, saturation will interact with that low end to a much larger degree and often create loads of harmonics that just end up acting as bloat and mud in the mix. Let's listen to what saturation does when mastering hardstyle. So here we can definitely hear those added harmonics that add a lot of boxiness to the kick, and since everything else gets saturated with that low end, the saturation almost sounds like distortion. Let's listen to what it sounds like during the melodic drop. Same thing here, things sound really squashed because the saturation is really picking up on that low end. So the thing about this is that there's really nothing speaking for using saturation in hardstyle. We don't need to make things sound more dense in the master. We've already achieved that through things like sound design and reverb. It's not going well with the heavy low end, quite frankly it's ruining the low end. And since we have a lot of high frequencies, we don't like that blanket of softness that saturation brings. So again, saturation is great on organic music, but that doesn't mean it carries over into electronic music. Sometimes a bit of saturation in EDM is cool to add a bit of warmth to the signal. This is particularly the case if it's a clinically clean mix with a really pure low end, then saturation can be really useful. But for aggressive genres like hardstyle, it's really difficult to find a use case for it in mastering. Something that's incredibly common in mastering tutorials is generalized EQ settings. You've heard this before. It's advice like, you should always cut this frequency and boost that frequency to achieve a certain result. Last video, we debunked the myth of always low cutting your masters in the pursuit of more headroom. But these kinds of one-size-fits-all EQ tips are a different breed, and they risk doing much more damage to your mix because they completely disregard the context. It didn't take me longer than 10 seconds on YouTube before I bumped into this.
This little EQ tip is going to make every single mix you do sound amazing. Get a parametric EQ. Set the Q for around a medium setting. Now drop it by half a dB or 1 dB, you've got to try that, at 160 Hertz. Will sound great. Separation in the low end every single time.
32,000 likes on this video. The problem with these generalized mixing settings is that, like I said, they don't account for the context. He's promising separation in the low end, but if I'm bringing this into my hardstyle track, it just eats away unnecessarily from one of my harmonics in the kick. It's like, what separation exactly? It might work better in a pop track or an EDM track, but in any case, EQ adjustments like this can never be standardized. This tip was relatively harmless, being a simple 1 dB cut, but there's so many crazy formulas out there with mid-side EQing and dynamic EQing to achieve a certain effect on the master, and it just doesn't work like that. Every track is unique and needs different processing. So if you see advice like this where they try to sell you the idea that you just need specific settings, you should run in the opposite direction. 32,000 likes, that's nuts. Maybe I should start making content like that. Alright guys, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.